Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Talkin Kop. We're here for full-time match reaction number 13 of the season. It's finished at the Emirates, Arsenal 2, Liverpool 2, in a game that gives us no shortage of things to discuss. A little bickering in the back room before we went live, so this should be quite a lively show. Chris?
Ashley's calmed down now.
Yeah, well, somebody's got to be the calm one out of the group. I'm hosting, Ashley's calm, and you two are just a series of whirling dervish handbags. How'd you like the game, Chris?
Not especially. It was a pretty lackluster performance by Liverpool. But listen, away games, as we've seen this year, are hard. Away games at Arsenal are particularly hard. So do you know what? If you'd off, I think what you said, a point at Arsenal is absolutely fine. That's a point better than we've got in the last couple of years against them. And look, we're 2 points up in last year. So overall, result-wise, I'm happy with. And performance-wise, not so much. But, at the end of the day, if we still keep finding ways of getting the results, which is kind of what we want, really, and there's areas to work on. By the way, the injury crisis of Arsenal, put it in the fucking bin. They literally had, when you put the list up, 3 first-teamers out, which was Saliba, Odegaard, and Calafiore. And then they had Tierney out, who's a squad player. Liverpool had 5 or 6 out. It's fucking not mentioned. And we had Jota and Alisson out, who would have started today. So in terms of injuries, squads were quite even in terms of what they were missing. So stop hiding behind it. I mean, to be fair, I don't think Arsenal are. I think some of their fan base are, and honestly. But look, 2-2, I think on the level of performance, I'm fairly happy with it because I thought we weren't great first half. We were a bit better second half. Both their goals leave a lot to be desired. But listen, I'll take a point, move on.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. ACDC says 7 points from 9 from the big 6 of Man U, Chelsea, and Arsenal. I take it. Kev, a good point in the end for you?
A great point. A fantastic point. An absolutely unbelievable point because we were second best in a lot of departments. And to come out of that with a point, you'll absolutely take. Because I don't think that we'll play 90 minutes as poorly or as ineffectively again this season. It was so frustrating to watch, and I was confident going into it that we'd be able to get at them, get at the back four. But it doesn't matter who's playing at the back for them. If you can't build an attack, you can't sustain pressure. You could have 4 dinner ladies at the back. It doesn't matter a jot. And we were too eager to get the ball forward direct too often. And I said before we came on there that we threw the baby out with the bathwater with how we approached this, because it was so reminiscent. That first half was so reminiscent of last season in their setup and our inability to be able to deal with it. It was really one of the most frustrating games that I've watched this season, bar none. You take the point all day long when you're playing that bad. Absolutely. But I feel like we've left points on the table there, and it's our own fault.
Yeah, I mean, we may have left points on the table in the overall scheme of things. Ashley, I think after the first half, pretty much any of us would have clawed your eyes out for a draw because it was poor.
I mean, that's what I said in our Telegram group. I would take a draw just so that we don't have to listen to the media go on and on and on about Arsenal winning with that slapstick kind of pasted together defense that they had there. I think that is where we'll look back and say we missed an opportunity, because by the end of that game, that was like their 4th choice defense all kind of piecemealed together. I don't give a shit about their injury crisis because, I fell for the Arteta line that Saka was out. I fell for the line that Timber was out. I have zero sympathy for them getting the injuries they did later in the game, because I think that was, what Arteta was asking for, playing those guys. But overall, I think I'm going to look back on this and say it's a missed opportunity. Hopefully I don't remember the performance that much, because there was so little to write home about this performance that I I am glad that we got the point, but I just want to move on from this performance because I genuinely never want to watch that game again.
Yeah. There was some half decent football throughout the game, hopefully, because we're going to try to milk an hour out of this at least. But I don't think that'll be an issue given all the talking points. Chris, we got the line up there scrolling across the bottom for us. I'd like to say that I absolutely nailed the Liverpool lineup in our preview show we did on Friday. That Curtis Jones came in for Szoboszlai. Were you happy, surprised with the Liverpool lineup?
I think the only debate was I agree with you. I thought Jones would start. I think it was it Szoboszlai, was it McAllister? In hindsight, I think you see what Szoboszlai gives you and McAllister doesn't, and I think it's horses for courses. You may have had this debate offline sometimes. I think Szoboszlai is becoming a little bit of a Gino Wijnaldum, which is everyone says, "What the fuck does he do? He's rubbish at this." We win things in spite of him. He wasn't playing today, and I think you missed that. The pressing he does, the energy he gives you, especially in that 10 role. I think he just drives the team forward a bit on that extra mobility, especially when you need to sit deep. I don't think it suits Jones's game. I think Jones actually looked better once subs like him and he went back to playing defensive. I think Jones, who actually did okay all game, played even better, deeper. I thought McAllister was off it today. But listen, that's hindsight. You've seen what he's like. But I wasn't overly fussed because they're a bit horses for courses. The ones you have in, but yeah, it was fine.
Yeah. And Brian O'Halloran here says, is this the issue with not giving Diaz much time after the international break? He didn't seem up to speed with the game. It's another one of those hindsight things because when we were previewing it, it was like, if they're going to play Thomas Partey at right back, like get the ball to Luis Diaz and let him absolutely go. And who is it? Manu Subadai said Partey looked like Philip Lahm, courtesy of Luis Diaz. And Kev, in terms of the Arsenal lineup, Ashley was right in terms of the PR mumbo jumbo. The London Evening Standard was way off with their predicted lineup. And yeah, sure enough, Saka, Timber, everybody fit to go from the start. I'm surprised Odegaard didn't make an appearance.
Yeah, for what they had available, that was probably as strong as they could go. We'll see down the line. We'll see over the next week, 10 days, how much of a gamble he took. Because it definitely looked like they suffered as the game went on. I think they took some unnecessary risks, but it's a good 11. And the only questions really were how are they going to line up, who's going to play where, and it was the same for us. I was hoping that you'd see McAllister playing on the right and Jones playing on the left, purely and simply because of the role that Saka has and his ability to isolate fullbacks. Robertson would have probably benefited more from the job that he did against Chelsea last week on that side of the pitch. And the same for them. Were they going to line up with two tens, two strikers? Were they going to play 4-2-3-1 and match us up? It was just the way the game started. I saw us going direct really early. That one over the top to Salah to test out the left back, to test Timber, and one over to Diaz to test Partey out. And we had reasonable success on the first couple of occasions. But after that, it became meat and drink for him. And we kept turning the ball over and couldn't get any kind of flow or any kind of rhythm into the game at all. And as the first 10 minutes, first 9 minutes evolved, we were on the back foot for large parts of that half.
Yeah, I mean, Ashley, we were talking about it on Friday when Gav, Kev, yourself, and myself were doing a bit of a preview, trying to, suss out how Liverpool might approach the game. And I think we all kind of came down on it'll be, kind of reserved from us the first couple minutes. Arsenal will come out of the gates flying, and my comms, I'm sure you had the same ones, were not shy of sharing, the fact that Arsenal had won 2 in a row at home against us, that they had scored in the first 15 minutes, I think in 4 of their last games against us, and 9 minutes in, and they score early again.
Yeah, I mean, that was a horrible goal. It was so incredibly easy. And I hate, coming down hard on any singular player, but I mean, Robertson did absolutely nothing there to cover himself in glory, and he got absolutely fleeced. And I mean, Saka's a tricky player. Like, he's on his day, he's one of the best players in the league. And, whether or not the injury was real or not real, he did show up today. I thought he was incredibly threatening all throughout the game. I thought there were times where it took 3 of our players to do anything to stop him. I was just very disappointed with how we defended him, especially for like the first 30 minutes. But yeah, that goal in, I think it was 8 minutes and 40 seconds. It was a long ball behind Robertson. I think, just to add insult to injury, Saka nutmegged Robertson in the goal. I'm pretty sure there was a nutmeg right in there. I mean, he hit it so hard into the top of the net that Kelleher couldn't have done anything about it. I mean, it was just a fall asleep moment, and I can't give any excuses for Robertson there. I really can't.
Yeah, it does not look good on first viewing or on repeat viewing that, like, he's very heavily left-footed. He's good with his right foot, but he obviously prefers his dominant left foot. He's going to try to cut back inside. I mean, credit where it's due. It's a great ball by Ben White into the space in that 1v1 foot race. Robertson's almost always going to come up second best to Bukayo Saka. He's a dynamite player. He's going to try to cut back inside. He makes a lovely touch to cut it back inside, but it doesn't look good. And I mean, Chris, it feels like there's a conversation around Andy Robertson that needs to be had. I mean, Brian O'Halloran says Saka had Robertson on toast, calls that he's finished or premature. Anthony Boylan saying Robbo's gone the way of Fabinho. He's found the cliff edge and started to fall. Has Andy Robertson's performances, not just in this game, but in the whole season, is it worrying you, Chris?
He hasn't quite got going to his normal standards. Is that sometimes a little bit of a hangover of playing in a Euros World Cup? Probably. He is 30 now. I think the keenness to write him off and say it's the Fabinho, because everyone wants to be the first to say they called it. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I think there are also sometimes you do also have to sometimes say, there are times when someone just has your number on that day, and Saka has his number. Let's be honest. We've seen Salah, Mane over the years do that exact goal, and it doesn't mean the defender that they've done it to is finished. It just means they've been outdone on the better day. Saka was excellent today. I don't think as a setup, when we were trying to press this 4-2-4, it works if you press at pace. We didn't, so because we could bypass it, they were giving McAllister and Gramovich too much space to cover, which meant fullbacks being left exposed. And I think it took a lot too long to sort of rectify that. It probably got to about the 55-minute mark before we properly got ourselves done. So you've got to give him credit, because let's be honest, if we'd scored that goal, would we all be going, "Oh, that fullback's finished"? Well, it's not great, because Salah's going to do that. Yeah, it doesn't mean you can stop it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? People have said for 7 years, all Salah does is kick it on his left foot and bangs it. Not many stop him, though.
Yeah.
You've got to be balanced. Sometimes give the player the credit of, it's more the fact Ben White was unopposed and was able to just pick it off. I think my comms were blaming Van Dijk, saying Van Dijk should have seen the ball coming over and got back quicker, possibly. There is also that element of, but could Robertson have done a bit better? Maybe, because you saw we tried to do a similar ball. I think it came to the corner that we scored off, but Partey managed to get out to Diaz quicker. And it was literally, he just managed to get a touch on it. It wasn't anything spectacular, but just enough to delay him, so he didn't have time to move. That's probably the only thing with Robertson. Maybe it's a little bit of quickness in mind. You just need to be that one step tighter and just take the gamble. Yeah. But once he's in the area, Robertson can't touch him.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have dynamite attacking players. So like I said, you got to give credit where credit's due. It's a good ball. It's good play by Saka. Shane McCall, little defense of Robertson, saying he was poor, but no left back in the world makes a difference with that goal. It was world-class attacking play. ACDC saying, but it is Slot's fault for throwing Robbo versus Saka. I mean, I think a lot of us would have been furious had he started simulcast. Yeah. And Project 5 AM saying 3 games in a row now for Robertson, where he's been given a tough time. Pat Nevin mentioned it midweek. Kev, what's your feelings on the first goal?
Pat Nevin, the most unbiased with Liverpool's players.
But I mean, it's still correct. Kev, what's your take on the first goal and Andy Robertson versus Saka?
Once Saka isolates him, it's over. The problem comes from no pressure on the pass from Ben White to begin with. That's not a difficult pass. That's a very easy pass to make when you've got time on the ball. and he had all the time in the world. He's a right back who plays that ball for fun anyway. And just because he's 15 yards more infield, it's still an easy ball. And because there's no pressure on it, you're not forcing him to rush it. You're not forcing him to take the pass early. You're not trying to make him make a different decision. That goal is born out of no pressure on the ball. Simple as that. Saka will do that to virtually every fullback in the league, bar none, and he'll make a career out of doing it. I don't care who you are. And he'll get days where Robertson will get days where a winger is going to have the best of him. It doesn't happen often. So when it does happen, credit to Saka, good player, really good cutback, and shot and finish, really quick as well. I could see what Gary Neville was talking about with Virgil. Could he sprint back and be there for when the chop back comes, because he knows he's going to chop back onto his left foot? Maybe he could, but that's being ultra harsh. It's a well-taken goal. It's a well-finished goal. But if you're not going to put any pressure on the ball and invite a player to make that pass, you're asking. It's your own downfall. And that's down to either Luis Diaz, Darwin Núñez, someone making an effort to put pressure on Ben White in the first place.
Yeah, I think that, because that's a very good point, that the amount of time that Ben White was given on the ball was it was too much. And to me, that was kind of systematic with, I like Curtis Jones and I wanted to see him play, but I wanted to see him play in that double pivot with Gravenberch and have Szoboszlai play, because the work that Szoboszlai does from the front pressing, I don't think we have another player in the team that can equal that. But that's neither here nor there. After they score, Ashley, we wanted to see the response from Liverpool, and we get the response from Liverpool. Kev mentioned it, or it might have been Chris mentioned it, that Partey's forced to surrender a corner off of a long ball from Van Dijk to Diaz. And somebody, I think it was Centurion, said that Trent's passing was terrible. And we are going to mention that in isolation. But there are two moments where Trent's passing were absolutely fantastic, and they both ended in goals. And the first one was from this corner, where an in-swinging corner, plays it to the front man. I don't know how Havertz lets Diaz get around him quite that easily, but he gets a nice little flick on, and Virgil buries it. And I won't speak for you, but I was thinking, yes, that's the response that we wanted. We've leveled the game up. Let's push on.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually surprised it took us that long, because I'm used to a very, very quick turnaround when it comes to going up a gear and getting a goal back. And I think that was about 9 minutes between goals. So that felt longer than usual. Obviously a harder opponent, so I have to take that into consideration. But yeah, the goal, I think it was very well worked. They're widely talked about as the king of set pieces, and we'll get to that later, but it was nice to see a set piece for us play off. I think that we need to get better at them. I think very clearly Arsenal has made that a strength, and I think that we get enough corners that we could make that a much more potent threat than it already is. Especially with Virgil, especially with Konate. I think that we could score more goals from corners for sure. But I think Diaz does a really good job with the flick on. I think once there's a flick on, it's much harder to defend. Virgil gets it across the line. I thought it was hilarious on my comms how, I don't know if you guys got this in the UK stream, but on NBC Sports halftime show, they actually did a real life reenactment of how Arsenal could have defended that ball better, where they basically had one person pretending to be Virgil and one person pretending to be the Arsenal defender, and it was laughable. So I don't know, worth watching if you have a little bit of free time in your hands. But yeah, I'm glad that we got it, but I was surprised that the momentum did not grow from there at all, because it just sort of plummeted after that, and that was very unusual for us.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was getting at, was that we got the leveler, and from there until halftime, I felt that we were quite poor. I think
the phrase you're looking for is fucking abysmal.
Well, I don't know why. I was going to say I was trying to keep it family friendly, but
we're trying to keep Grumpy Kev, we're letting Grumpy.
I'm going to set off in a minute. I'm going to set off in a minute. It's all right.
No, Chris, I obviously you can have your say on our goal because it is a nice piece of delivery. But the next note that I have is directly relatable to Arsenal taking the lead again, which is on the 18th minute. McAllister, just a silly foul against Bukayo Saka. And the 18th minute, the 33rd minute, and the 41st minute, Arsenal get set pieces from almost the identical area. They run the exact same set piece where they start 4 players offside. They loop around. They slot in between our players that are trying to hold the high line. Marino gets a touch on the first one. It's probably should have done better with that. And then the second one, we defend it. The second ball, they get a chance. And then on the third one, they score. But it was good to get the response from going down early and bringing the game back to level. But I completely agree with Ashley. After we got the leveler, we were shit.
Yeah, I mean, the frustration with that cross is it was the same routine, which is the deep one to the back post and Liverpool drop. That's fine. And also stand offside because they know Liverpool are going to drop. I kind of thought, well, at some point, would they not work out in hindsight? Maybe it's easy, but, you know, I'm not a professional footballer. But you think professional might work out going, well, they're standing offside. So, and we know VAR's there. Why aren't Liverpool being brave going, hold your ground, leave them offside? Because if Liverpool hold the line, they're done. Move on. It was just really sloppy, but it all came from. I know me and Kev were having a little tiff over it because we like to, because you know we love shouting at each other really. But I've no problem with the playing it long thing because it's not throwing away your philosophy. Because I think I get the impression with Slot's philosophy, it's a bit of everything. But my frustration with the doing it long is we were doing it too much to the point where, yeah, but we're not getting any respite. And the midfielders going up and down doing doggies, but they weren't getting the touch on the ball. And bless, what's his face? Diaz just wanted to kick Partey. He couldn't get past him, so he kept kicking him for a free kick. So I must admit, I think I messaged you guys half-time 2-1. I went, that's pretty fair result. That's pretty fair half-time score. As in, it was, I thought up to 30 was pretty even. Last 15, I thought Arsenal had the better of the ball, the better of the chances, deserved to be ahead. And before today, we'd never conceded in the first half in the Premier League, and then we now decided to concede 2. But there was another random stat they threw up at the end of the game on the Sky comms, which we'll talk about later. So yeah, look, I kind of felt it was a kick in the teeth that we needed.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, do you have any feelings about the equalizing goal for Liverpool or the play that ended up with Arsenal taking the lead again before the first half?
The corner routine is really well worked. That's really difficult to get that first delivery right onto the near post for the flick on. Virgil puts his head in there, fights off Partey. Good goal. You know, well worked. Probably a training ground routine because Arsenal have been done like that already this season with the near post flick on. So that's something that they've obviously worked on.
It's amazing with their set piece coach, they get done on set pieces. I thought that wasn't allowed.
Well, you're going to get that. I mean, good sides will work out ways of scoring. And Arsenal's third trick with the free kick, the third time was a charm. You know, they had 3 efforts at that free kick already in the first half. And they did the same routine every time. 3 or 4 players will stand in an offside position at the back end. They'll run across, try to come back into the line, block people from coming back in, and then follow the ball in itself. But ultimately, their Arsenal's second goal is all about the delivery. Declan Rice's cross for that goal is undefendable. And I don't care who.
The first one was too, Kev. Like the first ball he put in, and that should have been the warning sign for us.
Undefendable. There's 3 ways you can defend that. You can defend your 6-yard line. You can drop to the 6-yard line and hope. That's all you can do is hope.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you can hope that someone can get ahead on it.
Yeah.
The second way is as soon as Rice goes to hit the ball, everyone runs out, and you just leave him there. You just leave him there standing.
Which is, I gotta say, Kev, I see what you're saying, but it takes stones. Look. It used to be common way before the VAR era. It used to happen a lot. Yeah.
But the big fall in that is you get a deep run. You can only do that once. Because as soon as you do it once, someone will be a deep runner and they'll meet you as they're coming out. The third way is the exact way that we did. And we've been doing it that way for years. And if someone gets it absolutely perfect, if they time their run absolutely perfect and the ball is dead on, there is nothing you can do about it. You just have to tip your hat and say, hell of a cross, good finish. Yeah. I don't think there's anyone can do anything more about that. Honest to God, it's just one of them that you just got to say, that's just really,
I would take that, Kev, if they'd have scored in the 18th minute with the first one of those free kicks. But the fact that they had 18 minutes, 33 minutes, and 41 minutes when they score, the fact that they did the exact same routine 3 times, and on the 3rd time they got caught out, that's not good enough from us to let them have the same.
Isn't it more? Oh, that's the problem. It's a silly fault. It's a silly fault to give away in the first place.
But even if you give a foul away, you have to clock on to, like, I would hope that our coaching staff, besides getting 2 yellow cards, which is fantastic, would recognize this is the play they're doing and here's how we're going to defend it. It's hard to communicate mid-game. I get that, but you can't have them run the same play 3 times.
Well, what more can they do? They're not going to drop onto their 6-yard line and come out. They're just not. We've never done it before. It's not something that you're going to be practiced at. So they're just going to stick with what they know. And when you look at where the lines were drawn, it's marginal, but it's half a foot. It's half a foot.
It's Virgil's foot. I mean,
you know what I mean? It's what can you do?
Did you have Sky?
Honest to God.
Did you have Sky?
I did, yeah.
What's that referee muppet?
Mike.
Yeah, he said it was a lazy leg back by Virgil to play the ball onside. I'm like, he's got to put his fucking leg down somewhere to stand to head someone. It was like it's a lazy.
He's moving back to clear the ball. I mean, your foot has to move backwards. Yeah. It's just one of them.
Mike Dean, the excellent footballer that he was,
But you're talking tiny margins.
Yeah,
and you can tell how tiny the margins are because of how long it took them to draw the lines. And when they did, it was literally inches, a couple of inches is the difference. So I don't think we could have defended that any better than that, bar someone getting a foot on it.
Yeah,
and I honestly just think Declan Rice's cross took everybody out of the equation. I think it was one of the best crosses from there that I've seen in a long time, to be fair.
He's turning into
if Beckham or Trent had hit that. Yeah, if Beckham or Trent had hit that, you're eulogizing about it.
Yeah. And again,
it's one of them.
It's a credit where credit due. Like I said, like the ball he put in the 18th minute, I put down, like, it was an A+ ball. It was just fantastic. And Marino just either headed it or got a foot on it and put it wide.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take my lumps for it. I said in the pre-match or in the preview show we did that with Odegaard and Saka out, that their deliveries from set pieces won't be quite up to the level that we'd expect them to be, and
they're better.
Thanks, Matt.
The other thing I'd say, though, I think the other side of that, we defended really well. We didn't give a corner away until the 87th minute.
Yeah.
So that side of it, I thought defensively we were really good in that aspect of it, where we weren't taking risks and trying to, instead of clearing it, taking risks that give corners. That side of it was okay, but the foul that he gave up, it was a poor foul to give up in the first place, especially who the player was that you were giving it to. Thomas Partey isn't going to hurt you from there. And the other side of it is you're only a few minutes. It was on 41 minutes. You know what I mean? You're only a few minutes. At the time, we desperately needed halftime. We desperately needed halftime.
Yes, we did. I see a lot of comments here from everybody that's watching, which, again, thank you, everybody, for watching. Please hit the like button if you're in here watching. If you're not a regular, I see some not so common names in here. We got a few opposition fans in here, which is always lovely to see. Thank you for joining us on the show. Hit the like button. Become a member if you want. It's $3.99 a month. You get access to all the shows live. You get into the chat for all the shows live, which is worth the value on its own right there. But people talking about the offsides and how long it took, and I'm presuming a fair number of people watched El Clasico yesterday with Kylian Mbappe being caught offside 108 times or whatever it was, but just how much quicker and more seamless the semi-automated offside system is for playing in La Liga. It is ridiculous, because that was an extremely long VAR check, and to go back to when did Konate? I can't remember. All the games kind of blur together after a moment, but it was a hokey pokey leg from Virgil, just a little bit too far back, much like Konate's was. And then I wrote there, we look shook here. We need to get into halftime. And thankfully, we got into halftime, Ashley. And I will just say, I desperately wanted to see Szoboszlai come on for McAllister. McAllister was on the yellow card. I thought he looked a little bit off the pace of the game, and I wanted to see Curtis Jones go back into that left-sided 6 position and give Andy Robertson some help with Bukayo Saka, because it felt like they were coming down that side of us every single time. But halftime subs don't happen all that often. What were your feelings at halftime?
I mean, my feelings were basically that we had no standout players whatsoever. I mean, I genuinely don't think there was anyone that like rose above the rest in that first half. I think there were a few players that were proficient. But in terms of grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck and actually injecting some pace and energy, I think the game was screaming for it. So in terms of substitutes, I thought, yeah, like, you know, anything is better than what we've got right now. I mean, I was really surprised at the pace that we were going at. I think that we've talked about being slow and controlled and methodical and all of these things. And maybe it is just getting used to this style and accepting that this might be the slot way. But there were points in that first half where I was like thinking to myself, Klopp would never have allowed this. Klopp would never have allowed this level of energy and performance in this first half. And whether or not that's tactical so that the team has gas left in the tank for the second half or what, I don't know. But I was really just annoyed with kind of the effort that was being put in by our players. And I don't know if that's tactical, if that was on purpose. If it was, you know, I'm sure that there's smarter people than me making those decisions. But as a viewer, I just felt like we were getting dominated, and I didn't like seeing that. Even though we were the away team, and I understand that the onus was on Arsenal to get the win today. I don't know. I just thought we were very, very safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Chris, the other thing I had besides wanting to see a little shakeup at halftime, which, you know, pretty much everybody calls for and almost never, ever happens, was that I felt it was time for Arne Slot to show some of his minerals, to get the team in at halftime and change around how we were playing, because you can't have a much worse first half than we did.
No, I think it felt second half, although I think it took about 15 minutes to get going because of phantom injuries and then some actual injuries, which was quite good fun. He seemed to ask Jones to drop a bit deeper and make it more of a 3, and I think that helped just get us on the ball and break from a bit deeper, and that did get us on the ball a bit more. If I'm honest, things turned up when he made the subs. I thought Gakpo was more effective when he came up. I thought Szoboszlai gave us a bit more energy, and to be fair to Tsimikas, I thought Tsimikas did well when he came on. I think what helped, it looked like Arsenal. I'm gonna phrase this.
Negative.
Went back into the shells. I'm trying to be polite, but they stopped attacking. They did the City thing, which is right. We're 2-1 up. We're not going to attack now. We're just going to sit back and go, listen. That's your attack. That's fine. Because of that, Havertz pulled wider left, wider right, so against our left, so he's not as quick as Saka. And Saka went more central. But I just felt with Arsenal, if you were an Arsenal fan, they also must be kicking themselves going, Liverpool weren't quite at their level for a good 60 plus minutes today. And you didn't go for the third to kill it, which again was a question mark he asked about the City game, which was like, he didn't leave any pace on up front, just on the off chance of a breakaway to maybe put a bit more pressure on City. You know, when you went 10 men against Bournemouth, you didn't. You took a pace option off straight away. You're like, but you're still a better side than Bournemouth. You know, they seem to be too keen about not going for the attack, and I think it always eventually hurts them. Because I think every time they've done that so far this year, it's hurt them. So I don't know. I feel like they missed an opportunity as well as we did.
Yeah. I think both teams can be disappointed in getting a draw, but both teams can also be happy with getting a point from that.
It's a better point for us than them, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a better point for us than it is for them, especially considering the first half performance. But a performance that definitely needs to be talked about is the performance of everybody that's helped us out with our 2 charities that we've been trying to raise money for, which is Fan Supporting Food Banks in Liverpool, the Lighthouse Cafe in Dublin, If you know anything about the Talkin Kop or LFC Day Trippers, you know that we always have a charity that we're there trying to raise money for. These are our two charities. We're trying to raise 10,000 euros for them. We've already given them each a couple of thousand euros from everybody's generous contributions, and we're still going to keep on going with this. So please, if you support the channel and you got a little bit of extra money around, help us out. Click on the GoFundMe link that you'll find in the show description on YouTube or on any podcast if you're listening to us after the fact. Share it in your social media accounts. We really, really do appreciate it. They're two absolutely fantastic charities doing really good work for people that are down and out and need help. So if you can help us, help them, help other people, then that's the sort of behavior that makes the world go round. Kev, first note I have from the second half, I'm going to use the name that Ashley gave him by accident in the summertime, Spike Hasselhoff, with a yellow card. I absolutely like. He'll never be.
Spike hula hoop, I think, was what I.
Oh, okay. Well, I've altered it because Hasselhoff is even better. I'm never going to call him.
The Baywatch music, come on.
Spike Hasselhoff with a yellow card, and then I mean, just to round it off, where's the one that you had here, Ashley, about Slot's yellow card? Slot got a yellow card later. He said afterwards, they always fell down when they had ball possession. I said to Ibu, this is a fucking joke. The fourth official thought I was talking to him, and I got a yellow for it. I love Arne Slot a little bit more than before, but
I mean, he's right, like.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, like, it was dark arts. It was. I don't know if it was the Telegram or in WhatsApp that somebody was like, "Is he actually hurt, or is this just dark arts?" And it's like, it's dark arts.
That was
as it turns out, Kev Gabriel, he was hurt. He was hurt, but there was an awful lot of going down under very soft fouls, no fouls at all, and the dark arts from, as somebody called him in the chat there, Mikel Simeone.
Yeah, it's something that we don't do anywhere enough of. And no problem with Arsenal doing it, to be fair. You're 2-1 up. You need the win. You need to take all the sting out of the game, any momentum that we were trying to build. You have to find ways to take it out of the game, and that's how they decided to do it. I honestly thought that Gabriel was just trying it on, to be honest, the first time he went down. But that at 2 minutes out of the clock straight away. You know, it's a frustrating part of football, and unless the referees clamp down on it quick, it will come in more and more as players get to situations in the season where they're playing so much football that it becomes understandable that they're picking up niggles here and there, and they're able to sell it a bit better. You know, I mean, he booked Raya on about 65 minutes for time wasting, so it was clear as day what Arsenal were going to do. I mean, we did change straight away at the start of the first half. Chris spotted it with the reverting to the back three and playing out from the back. Yeah. You know, what we've been doing all season long that has been really successful for us is drawing sides on to play around them. And the first half, we were nowhere near brave enough to do it. We were outnumbered in midfield 4 and 5v3 at stages because Arsenal's front two dropped in to make extra midfielders, and we couldn't work out how to get out of it. Come out in the start of the second half, and he'd worked out, devised a way of getting out through the back, and we started playing through the lines, and we started to work our way into the game. And when they had to make it's, you know, I watched a lot of football this weekend, and it's creeping into the game more and more. Gabriel goes down, injured, whatever's wrong with him. He had ice pack on his knee. He stays on for another 5 minutes while his replacement is warming up, and then comes on. And it happens a lot more than people spot now, where a player's going to be coming off injured, but they'll wait until their replacement warms up, hobble around the pitch. Fofana for Chelsea today, I thought was going to come off doing the same thing, but it's a strange one for me, because if you've got a problem with your knee and you're down to one of your two senior centre backs and you're going to have to make a change, then you can't risk him further injuring himself by staying on the pitch. That is just daft. But no, look, not an awful lot happened in the second half. Not a lot happened throughout the game. Neither keeper were really busy. You know, Arsenal had 2 shots on target in the first half and scored from both. Yeah. You know, and I don't think Kelleher could do anything about either. So, and Kelleher, other than that, bar when he was hoofing it long, had virtually nothing to do. You know, it was a very quiet game for him. And it was the same for Ray. Had virtually no real meaningful saves to make. I think we had one more shot on target than them in the entire game. But stats wise, shots on target, efforts, that kind of stuff, it was pretty identical all the way. So the fact that it ended in a draw is probably a fair result overall. But the game, Arsenal were happy with the game meandering along, with the changes they had to make. They were happy to sit in their shell and defend in a low block 4-4-2 and just try to see it out. And I felt that we weren't anywhere near patient enough in trying to pick the lock to get in around them. We either didn't work good areas to cross from, or we were taking pot shots from outside the box when it just needed us to be a bit more patient. Pin them in, keep making them run, and ultimately I thought the mistake will come. And you could tell by the way the second half was drifting along. Trent's passing, that crossfield switch pass that he makes effortlessly all the time. It was on half a dozen times. He didn't complete one. I've never seen him throw a right leg at a ball, and I was roaring at the telly, just stop doing it, because it's just not on. It's not happening for you. I've never seen him pass a ball so badly. I don't think ever than he did today in those crossfield switch passes. They just didn't pan out at all. I've never seen him be that bad at it.
Yeah,
Virgil was the one doing it from the other side, and even his radar was off. It was either too close to the touchline or
Timber.
It was going out. It was Salah just couldn't get Salah on the ball anywhere near enough.
Yeah,
it was just a really, really frustrating game to watch up until about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's the thing about Trent, and I'll come to you with this one, Ashley, because it was mine, and I was like, well, I absolutely cursed them, because when we did our preview show, I said that Trent's going to be man of the match because I liked how he was playing midweek against Leipzig, and
should we ban you for preview shows?
I said to myself, I was like, I'm never doing that. Who do you think is going to be man of the match bullshit ever again? Because that was a fucking kiss of death. But it's because Kev is right. Like those passes in through the middle, and I think anybody that watched the game would have picked it out. But I'm used to seeing Trent misplay those passes by hitting them long out into touch for a throw in. And I would have killed for that to happen because he was under hitting them directly into the middle of the park where Arsenal was picking the ball up. And then unlike against Leipzig, where he was making poor passes through the middle of the park or dawdling on the ball too long in possession and turning it over, against Leipzig, he was rushing back, picking the ball off, or, Konate was getting in, making the tackle. Trent was getting the ball, and then we're turning it around going the other way. That wasn't coming off today. But it is, Kev's saying it's the worst game of passing you'll ever see maybe from Trent Alexander-Arnold, but he gets 2 pre-assists. So, it was a very strange game from Trent because he was terrible, and yet he had a direct hand in both of our goals.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I'll use sort of as maybe this was going on, I don't know, is we've heard from Slot that Trent's carrying an injury. We don't know what that injury is. But I would say from about 75 minutes on, he looked absolutely exhausted. And I think that today was a game where I think Connor Bradley probably would have come on if he was available off the bench. I don't think that the injury necessarily impacted his passing. I don't know. I think that was just him having a bad day with his radar off. And we've seen that before. We've seen him have his radar off before. And kind of, I think in these big games where there's a lot of pressure, sometimes the team still seems to rush the pass. And I think that's the one thing that Slot is trying to kind of force out of some of these players. But I think when the pressure's on, we see them kind of fall back onto old habits and they try to force those balls, those wonder balls. And when they come off, they look great. And they came off twice. We got goals. So, you can't cut them completely out of the game. But I do think that when we're under pressure, you see, especially Trent, trying to pull off passes that are never really there. And it is absolutely infuriating to watch because a lot of times those are the passes that we aren't set up to defend if Arsenal take possession of the ball. And I think that's where you get a lot of really dangerous turnovers in the middle of the park. And we had There was one where I think it was Kev sent a message in our Telegram group where he was just like, for fuck's sake, Trent, like that was horrible. And there were probably about 4 or 5 different examples.
That would have been around the 74, 75, 76 minute mark, because there was 3 of them that I have noted there of like, what are you doing?
It was awful. So yeah, it was one of those games. Hopefully it was just one game and he can, get his radar back on next game around.
Yeah, it's very up and down, Chris. And I mean, seeing as we're talking about our right back, I think we need to give a little bit of credit to Arsenal's right back, because most people would have picked out Thomas Partey at right back as a weak link that we could exploit. I thought he was maybe man of the match today. I thought Thomas Partey was absolutely excellent. But when they have to make the change on 53 minutes and bring Kivior on for Gabriel, I put down in my notes, like, this is the chance here. Go equalize and win the game. They've got effectively 4 fullbacks on the pitch. I thought the momentum was with us there. We didn't do jack shit with it for 25 minutes. And then just shortly after my comms point out that Liverpool have not scored a last 15-minute goal under Arne Slot, would you know it? But it comes from, I don't know if it was on the show or before the show, Kev saying nobody had a good game. I thought Ibu Konate, I'm going to go early with it. I thought he was my man of the match today.
Oh, you're stealing my thing. I said that before the show started.
I'm the host. Look at me. I'm the captain now. I'm the captain.
Oh, God.
I'm the captain.
Put Kev back in charge.
Konate puts an incredible block in on the edge of the box. He lays it off to Trent. Trent with a wonderful ball to Darwin Núñez. And in
good
terms
run by
of
Darwin.
Wise, it was about the only good thing Darwin did all day. Excellent defensively again from Darwin, but he needs to contribute more going forward. And then Darwin,
he needs the ball to go. To be fair to Darwin, he needs the ball to do something.
Yeah,
but he did get the ball. He fed off scraps, and to be fair to him, he just, did the donkey work. But listen, he got his chance, stayed on side, which is always a big plus.
Yep.
And spots Mo, and Mo does what Mo does,
which is 11 goals in 15 Premier League games against Arsenal, and equaling Robbie Fowler as the 8th top goal scorer with 163 goals in over 100 fewer matches, which that's
unbelievable.
For
a winger, it's ridiculous.
It beggars belief, doesn't it, Kev? I mean, just not just the sheer output, but the output in big games that Mo Salah puts in.
I mean, that goal was typified by the accuracy of the passing. Trent's ball into Darwin was inch perfect. If I was an Arsenal fan, I'm looking at Ben White, screaming at him. You can see Darwin. Stop. Why are you going with him? Just let him run offside. But Darwin times his run perfectly. And to have the nous to slow down, to put the ball across, again, inch perfect pass. All Mo had to do was meet it and slot it into the post that it wanted to go to. There was nothing complicated about the finish, and it was a lovely goal. It was. I think the first goal and the last goal were the 2 best goals of the game, but it was a beautiful finish. It was a beautiful goal from start to finish, and it just goes to show. I'd say that goal from the time the ball left Trent's foot to the time it was in the back of the net was about 6 seconds. It was that quick. But it was all down to the accuracy of the passing, pure and simple. And for the basis of what we did in the second half, I think we deserved to come out of that game with something. Because for a game this early in the season, I think it's a really important game. I know it's 3 points and all 3 points have the same value. But I just felt today that for us, it was do not lose. At all costs, don't lose. For Arsenal, I think Arsenal needed to win, to be fair. Arsenal how this game panned out, because for all of the bluster and huff and puff and how average we were in many aspects, they didn't cause us enough problems. And the flip side is we didn't do the same. And I think we'll learn a lot more. Slot will learn a lot more, I think, about the squad or about the core squad. The fact that he asked the vast majority of that starting 11 today to do 3 back-to-back high intense games in a week is I think if we were playing in Europe again midweek, I don't think that 11 starts.
Yeah.
I think he gambled today on the fact that it's Brighton in the League Cup next week, and he'll make massive amount of changes. But he's broken this 7-game block into 2 games of 3 and 1 in the middle to make massive rotation. And he'll try to give as many players as possible a week to try to recover, because some of them definitely need it. You could tell by the Trent was one example, but there were others. There's definitely players that need a break this week.
Yeah, and that was early on in the show. I saved it here. Where did it go? Rotors 007. I don't think they're I haven't seen them in the chat, at least since they put this comment in 40 minutes ago, but says, "My mighty Seagulls are coming for you. Give us a weak team on Wednesday and we'll let you win at the weekend, lads." To which I responded, sold. Because
Sold.
you're getting a weak team in midweek. You're going to get Tyler Morton.
Me and Kev are on the bench.
I don't know if we need to go. I don't know if we need to go quite that.
We're not coming on. It's just we get a seat for the match.
Yeah,
I'll carry the sponge.
Ashley,
I'm not running onto the pitch either.
You brought up a very good talking point for us here for the end, that the Arsenal fans are going mental over the foul call before the ball went in the net at 89 minutes.
They need something.
Just before that, though, a perfect Cruyff turn from Kelleher.
Oh, the Kelleher footwork.
What a Cruyff turn! It was just delightful.
My heart needed to palpitate a little bit more.
Oh, just shades of Nat Phillips at the San Siro. That one was, but this moment where the ball ends up in our net, and I mean Anthony Taylor, who had a middling game. I felt he was calling, especially Diaz against Partey in the first half, under the long balls that we were pumping forward from Kelleher and from the center halves. Any little push in the back or anything like that, he was blowing up for. And what Kivior did against, I'm sure it was Szoboszlai, I think, that he challenged for the high ball, it's a foul all day, every day.
I mean, the whistle has gone. That is where the game ends. That is, no matter what happens, doesn't matter if you score a goal after the whistle. That's the rule of the game. I think they're just looking for something to cling on to. I understand. I do think that, I would be bitter if I was an Arsenal fan and I didn't win that game, because I think they had every opportunity to win the game. I think we did not capitalize on their defensive frailties, and I would be pissed. So a lot of times when I am disgruntled after a bad result, I cling to little instances, and I get it. Like, the ball did roll over the line, but the whistle was blown. So there's nothing you can do about it. The same way there was nothing that we could do anything about, Diaz's goal that was legitimate being ruled off. We still had to suck it up and bear it. So I have very little sympathy for them, but it is a talking point.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to get a ton of sympathy for the Arsenal fans amongst Liverpool fans, especially with their absolute cry-arse behavior anytime anybody move the ball or, delay to throw in by a half a second.
Because the comms for us were trying to jump on that. And in fairness, Mike Dean was going, yeah, he has kicked it away. He goes, so is that a yellow, Mike? He goes, well, no, because Arsenal are even set to take the free kick.
Was that the Diaz one?
You're never going to take a quick free kick.
He said the centre back haven't even got into the box yet for the free kick. He said, so how? He said, it's not delaying a restart. He goes, the rule's delaying a restart. I said, not kicking the ball away. I was like, I mean, I love that disallowed goal because you could see he was full teacher, Taylor, like stood like a teapot, like a sugar bowl, hands on hips. And you see him go to like, the whistle went ages ago. Because you can tell, because none of the other players, apart from the keeper, react.
So wait, should that have been a yellow card for Arsenal because the whistle went, so they delayed a free kick being taken.
Yeah, they should have. I think he was on a yellow, so they probably should have sent him off.
Even Gabriel Jesus didn't react. Gabriel Jesus didn't even react when the ball went in. He knew,
because the whistle was echoing in his empty head.
I mean, the thing is, a few minutes before that, they had a good chance from the edge, from outside the box. They'd worked a good space between, I think it was Trossard and Martinelli, and ball came in and it was rifled in, and Kelleher just grabbed it with two hands and launched the ball to go straight out onto the left wing. It was a good reaction save, and the second half really Arsenal didn't really do much to go and win it, when I think they'll regret not looking for a third to finish the game, because I think that's 2 points dropped for them and it's a point gain for us.
Yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up nicely, that given how we performed, which was shockingly poor, especially in the first half, that Arsenal should have taken that, especially considering that all of their horrific injuries had been miraculously cured by the time the game kicked off. Yeah, I'm going to come around and get everybody's man of the match from you. But before we do that, I'll zip through Ashley's post-match quotes that she's got here for us. Virgil, post-match, saying, listen, it's a very tough place to come. They created a solid team and make it difficult for everyone. To come back twice is a good thing. We take the point and we move on. Virgil goes on to say, well, I repeated that already. There we are. He says, you play here in London. They have the fans behind them. They created some momentum. You have to be ready to fight because you will have some tough moments. 1 point, we will take it. The interviewer then asks him, did you sense anxiety when Gabriel went down? Another Arsenal player injured, to which Virgil replied, another player? They only have 2 injuries, and that's our captain. He's absolutely beautiful. But then Ashley, of course, confirms that Calafiori will be out for a few weeks after further tests confirmed his injury, which if you saw the action where he got injured
straight away,
I don't think you're going to be too surprised on that.
It looked a sore one, didn't it?
Yeah, it looked quite bad. Arne Slot, Konate doesn't always get the credit he deserves. He's also somewhat responsible for that when he tried to claim a man of the match award after he had given the ball away for a goal.
I like that though.
I think it's absolutely fantastic, because I think if it wasn't for the performances that Ryan Gravenberch has been putting in, he's been our player of the season so far. Virgil on his contract situation, because heaven forbid we go a week without going through the contract things. He says, I'm very calm. Let's see what happens towards the end of the season. I'm enjoying my football physically and mentally. Keep enjoying the game because it's a beautiful game that we play and I play, which is the most politician answer you could possibly get. On the title race, Virgil says, City lost here and they won the league. I've read so many things that Arsenal are out of the title race if they lose. We're in the business where you hope you can be on top 1 week and then not. Let's see what it brings us at the end of the season. Enjoy the ride. Arne Slot asked the same question about us being title contenders. He says, I know you guys like to talk about title contenders. It's part of the job. Can you get a result in a difficult away game as this one? The way we did it pleased me a lot. The way we can compete with such a strong Arsenal team in their stadium is pleasing to see, but where that ends up leading to, I can't say. And then Mikel Arteta, being a little Lego-headed bastard, says, we were the better team. Should have been a bigger score in the first half. They came out in the second half. We didn't have courage. In the first phase, we needed more courage to play. We created big opportunities. So poor Arsenal. I mean, first they have a massive injury crisis where they have 37 injuries, and now they don't have any courage. Boo hoo 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 hoo. Ashley, who was your man of the match? And if it's Ibu Konate, give me somebody else.
Okay. Well, I did claim Ibu as man of the match in a preview.
You get to claim him. You get to claim him.
You know what?
He's a proper rogue, isn't he, Ashley?
Okay. Yeah. Well, you can have him. It's fine.
We can all
I'm going to give. I'm going to give it to Mo, because I think that there's a lot of games this season that we have kind of glossed over him because he is always producing for us. But to continue to produce against top 6 teams and to get us these results, I think we're going to miss him when he's gone. And I think he deserves a little bit of extra attention.
I like that. Chris, presumably the correct answer is Ibu Konate, but who else did you like? Cade Fagan says Virgil.
Yeah, Virgil's good show, actually. I think as a partnership, they've been good. So it's probably good to have them both as a tandem. So yeah, I'll go with Virgil. Plus, he kicked Havertz, which also was really pissed Arsenal fans off because they think it should be a red card, which is also good.
Of course, it should have been a red card. Kev, how about you?
Look, for a game like that, I don't think there was anyone that stood out. I don't think there was anyone that stood out above anyone else. So you're looking for moments, and I think for me, Darwin Núñez, his work rate is one thing, but that run and that pass across to Salah. Yeah, I give him an honourable mention for sure.
Yeah, it's another game where the defensive contributions that Darwin Núñez is putting in it's above and beyond what I expected from him, and I'm absolutely.
the amount of times he ended up at right back today, I'm sure he's under instruction to come back a bit. I'm pretty sure he's not under instruction to come back to the edge of your 6-yard line on the right edge near the sideline, and try to help Trent out of a spot with Martinelli. And then have the energy to be up the other end to make the right decision on 80 minutes. That's, for me, I think is something that goes underrated. It's all well and good, having the lungs to be able to do it, but having the mentality to be able to slow yourself down and pick the pass for a striker whose instinct would have been to take that ball out of his foot and have a lash at it. To see the pass and to make the pass. Yeah, impressed with that.
Yeah. It's Thor, the dyslexic polyglot, is wondering, is Nunes maturating? Which I don't think is a word, but I think you mean maturing. And I would say he is, because it was, I think, the second minute. Hold on, let me check the notes. The second minute that he went in with Gabriel, and it seemed like it was going to be one of those bitty ones. Then he ends up getting a yellow card. The yellow card came in the 94th minute, but my first instinct 2 years ago would be to worry about Darwin Nunes in those situations, but he's showing last game and this game that he is maturating, Thor. I think that's correct. He is maturating. Somebody else here, Roy Beard, says slot subs have had the mirror opposite effect of Ten Hag's. United in 14th. Happy Sunday. We've covered Liverpool off. We've got a few minutes left. Ashley, any thoughts about the earlier matches today? Because there were some late goals and some drama, wasn't there?
Yeah, I was not watching particularly closely. I just had it on the background while I was making myself some food. But, any day that Man United loses is a good day. So, yeah.
They did, and it was in contentious fashion. Did you watch any of the early games, Chris?
I saw bits of Chelsea-Newcastle, which was all right, not great. I watched quite a bit of watched a few of the Saturday games, which were grateful.
The Saturday game.
Unfortunately for me, I said I'm going to stick with the Villa Borg. I thought this is quite an exciting game, and then as the joy that was Brentford Ipswich, I was gutted I missed that. So I had to watch the highlights for that. It was a great weekend actually, just for late goals and drama, and it's actually for a week, actually a decent weekend of football. And Man United getting beat by West Ham, who haven't won a game in ages.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, I'm not sure how much of it you were across. Man United can feel aggrieved. It was a rather soft penalty that they conceded. I absolutely loved it because, as you told me, the C word and the R word, there's no such thing as consistency amongst the referees in the league. So you may as well just revel in it when it goes against your rivals. But I called it before it kicked off. I thought Crystal Palace could do something against Spurs. That's a big win for Palace at the bottom.
Massive. They desperately needed that win. Spurs are Spurs. They'll puff and puff, and they'll pull off some extraordinary performances through the season, but ultimately they just lack staying power. That decision, that when people watch that back in Match of the Day tonight or wherever they're going to watch their highlights from, that's an absolutely disgraceful decision. That penalty the fact that was given as a penalty by VAR should lead to officials being suspended, because that will happen. They will do that to other clubs. They will do that to us this season. It's an absolute thundering disgrace that they can get it that badly wrong. And the thing is, I don't care who it's against. That kind of a decision is happening too frequently now. And the PGMOL are a thundering disgrace.
Yeah. And I mean, that leads us in nicely, because it seems like every week, every show we do, that there's another talking point about the PGMOL. And if you want to come back for some more, where I'm sure they will talk about it, Gav and 2, maybe 3 of the lads will be back here in just over an hour to do the Sunday night 10 o'clock show to go through the Liverpool game in broader strokes and touch on some of the big talking points from the weekend. And I get the feeling that one will come up. But I will say the thing that made me the angriest this weekend, and that includes Liverpool not getting the 3 points at Arsenal, was the fact that Mavropanos was given a yellow card against a tackle on Alejandro Garnacho when he was offside, when we were told specifically that you cannot give cards for play that happens after a ball is offside, when Jordan Pickford folded Virgil van Dijk's fucking knee in half. So I would love to know from the PGMOL when that directive changed, that Mavropanos can get a yellow card for a tackle on a player that was adjudged to have been offside because they took the free kick. West Ham took the free kick.
It literally changed after the Virgil van Dijk incident. They changed the ruling on it.
It's
because
ridiculous.
it was a white line in the sand that the whistle's gone. So what you're saying is basically I can just walk up to someone, knock him sideways, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Well, I didn't get the memo apparently. I didn't get the memo.
They did change it after that.
And to answer Madge Apple, we do not change our clocks where I live because daylight savings times is one of the stupidest things in the entire world. It's almost as stupid as listening to the Arsenal injury bullshit that comes out with them before the matches, because lo and behold, all their players pretty much were fit and ready to go. But it finished at the Emirates, Arsenal 2, Liverpool 2. Everybody can be disappointed. Everybody can be happy to come away with a point. We will be absolutely happy if you can help us donate to our 2 charities. We also have footballprizes.co.uk that still have 2 hospitality tickets to Liverpool hosting Real Madrid in the Champions League available. The contest runs for another day and a half, maybe 2 days, something like that. So get in there and join it. But other than that, thank you very much for joining us. Hit the like button, notification bell, subscribe if you want to become a member. We'll see many of you back here in about an hour or so when Gav are here for the Sunday night show. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kev. This has been the Talkin Kop. We'll see you after the next game.